Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to Crosspoint. How's everybody doing? Good. Would you stand up and sing with us? Come on, let's worship. Sing it out. Come all you weary, come all you thirsty, come to the well that never runs dry. Drink of the water, come and thirst no more. Come all you sinners, come find his mercy, come to the table, he will satisfy. Taste of his goodness, find what you're looking for. For God so loved the world that he gave us his one and only Son to save us. Whoever believes in him will live forever. Come on, let's wake up this morning. Here we go. Bring all your fears, bring your addictions, come lay them down at the foot of the cross. Jesus is waiting there with open arms. Can you see his open arms? Yeah. For God so loved the world that he gave us his one and only Son to save us. Whoever believes in him will live forever. The power of hell forever defeated. Now it is well. I'm walking in freedom. For God so loved the world.
Praise God, from whom all blessings flow. Sing with me, praise Him, for the wonders of His love. Praise God, from whom all blessings flow. Praise Him, for the wonders of His love, His amazing love.
For God so loved the world that he gave us his one and only Son to save. For God so loved the world that he gave us his one and only Son to save us. Whoever believes in him will live forever. The power of hell forever defeated. Now it is well. I'm walking in freedom. For God so loved the world. Bring all your failures, bring your addictions, come lay them down at the foot of the cross. Jesus is waiting. God so loved the
Come on, church, can we lift that up? Can we give praise to our God this morning? Come on, we're so excited. You may be seated. Hey, we're so excited. I love that song because that is just the essence of why we gather every single week. We believe that there is this God in heaven who sent his one and only Son to die for us, to live the life that we couldn't live, and to die into life that we deserved. But then he, on the third day, he rose again, and because of that, we can have life and life abundantly. Can we give it up that we serve a God who is so generous to us, who loves us so much? Man, that can get you excited early on a Sunday morning. Man, we're so glad you're here with us today. My name is Rob. I'm the young adults pastor here at Crosspoint, and we're just young adults. We're so glad you guys are here. It is our hope today that you get to experience what we just sung about. You get to experience this love and joy that comes from a relationship with Jesus today. And so wherever you came in with today, no matter what baggage that you have, we believe that there's hope for you. We believe that there's a future for you because of what Jesus did on the cross. So we just want to so welcome everyone into the service this morning. And if you're a first-time guest with us today, if this is your very first time, right after this service, we'd love to give you a gift. So after this service, if you would head over to our guest services booth and tell them that you're new, and we'd love to give you a Crosspoint t-shirt. And that's just our way of saying thanks so much for being with us today. And really, it's our hope today that you feel welcome, that you feel encouraged, and that you leave this place just really excited about what God is going to do in your life. Hey, if you've been coming to Crosspoint for a little bit, or maybe you are a first-time guest and you're looking for ways to get involved, I want to let you know about an amazing way that you can meet more people here at Crosspoint, get to know some of our staff a little bit better. We have this thing called the Newcomers Dessert that's happening tonight at 6:30 p.m. at Pastor Brian and Shannon's house. This is an amazing time to get to know a little bit more about the history of our church, to get to know Pastor Brian and his family a little bit more, and really get to know some of the other people who are new to Crosspoint. So if that's something that you'd be interested in, I want to encourage you right after this service, again, head over to guest services, and we would love to give you all the information that you need in order to make it over to Pastor Brian's house tonight. It's always a fun time. There's always amazing desserts, and it's 100% calorie free. It's just how it works. I don't know how they do it, but all the things you eat at the dessert will not count to your overall fat total, which is what I'm hoping. Don't check me on that, but it's in the Bible somewhere, I'm sure. Hey, I want to let you guys know about a couple more things. First off, we are a church that loves to spread this message of Jesus to the entire world. And so we have this compassion ministry where we get to support missionaries and feeding centers all around the world. And we actually have a couple compassion trips that you can be a part of coming up in 2020. And there's an interest meeting happening on March 8th. At 12:30 p.m. And so if you're interested in exploring a little bit about what would a trip look like, what would a compassion trip or mission trip look like here at Crosspoint, we'd love to invite you over to this meeting. And the deadline for Guatemala is this month on the 29th. So make sure, if you want to head over to Guatemala, to make sure to jump into that meeting, and we give you all the information that you'll need to know with that. And then the last thing I want to let you guys know about is we just launched our group season this last week. How many of you guys are in a growth group right now? Raise your hand. Yeah, it's awesome. We got a lot of people in this room who are in growth groups. And listen, it's not too late for you to get involved. Maybe you're like, man, I missed the deadline, and we already started groups. Listen, it's still enough time for you to jump into a group. We believe groups are so vital to spiritual growth and so vital to creating friendships and community that really last. And so make sure, even right now, you can sign up on your connection card that you want to join a group, or you can go to crosspoint.com/groups, and you can look at all the different groups that are available for you to join. And we have some really cool new things that are happening this semester as well. We actually are having a couple new classes that we're offering. One of them is our new believers class that we're offering at 11 o'clock every Sunday morning in the Next Steps room over there. And this is an amazing class taught by Matt Williams and the Molinar. I just forgot Molinar's first name. Mark Molinar. I'm sorry, Mark. I knew your name. And it's an amazing class. If you're new to the faith, or you're new to this whole thing, we would love to invite you. Even today, just jump in today after this service. During the 11 o'clock service, it starts in there. So if that's something you're interested in, make sure and stop by our Next Steps class after this service. Well, guys, I have something that's kind of exciting and new for me personally. My wife and I found out recently that we're having our very first child, which is super cool. It's exciting and scary and weird and awesome at the same time. And so I'll be just, if you see me crying on the floor somewhere, it's just because I don't know how to handle anything. So I'm just kidding. We're so excited. We actually, my family's from Missouri, and we were really excited to go and tell my little brother James, who I love dearly, and we actually filmed some of it. So I just want to show you a little bit about what it was like to tell my little brother James about this crazy news that we got.
Boom.
James,
Her
hi.
silent, stoic face.
You excited for your surprise?
Did you bring him a pony?
Puppy?
Did you bring Junie? Oh, wait, I just heard a dog.
Flowers is someone are coming here.
Oh.
Oh.
You feel sick?
Oh.
All right, James. So as you know, we came home because we love you and miss you.
Yep.
But also because we have a surprise for you. Okay? So I want you to open it up and see what it is, okay?
Okay.
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 Here you go.
Okay.
Okay.
You're welcome.
What does it say?
What's it say?
No.
You don't know? Here, what does it say?
Says best.
What does it say?
What?
What does it say?
Best.
That's
Uncle
Uncle? Ever.
ever.
Yeah. Wait. What does that
You know what that
mean?
means, James?
Here, what does it say on the back right here?
Which niece? It's not Junie.
Whoa. What does it
Real?
say?
It says Uncle James.
Uncle James.
What?
Kyla's pregnant. We're having a baby. Yes. Yes.
You joking? No.
Look, James. Look.
Look,
Look at
this
it.
is a
Oh,
picture of
There's a
the
picture of a baby.
What am I telling you? No.
Yes!
I'm happy. I'm happy.
You father. I'm gonna be a father. Isn't that crazy? I'm a uncle. Dude, you gotta put your shirt on. Like the Tommy. We flew home to tell you. I'll check myself.
James, how do you feel?
I'm happy. I'm a uncle. Robert. Mom, Daddy, preparedness.
Yes! Yes! James, gotta put your shirt on.
Yes! I'm gonna be grandpa. It's robot time.
You're gonna be an uncle.
You're gonna be a dad.
I'm gonna be a dad.
You're gonna be a mom.
I'm gonna be a mom. Where'd he go?
He was trying to absorb that, but he really was. He was like,
It's time.
Can you believe it? Quick, put it on.
No, baby.
Oh my
Yes! 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 Holy James!
Dude! Oh. You're gonna be the best uncle ever.
I'm happy.
Are you happy?
I'm crying. I'm happy.
Oh.
Tiffany! Tiffany! I'm a uncle! You in! Tiffany, you in!
man, this baby's gonna have lots of family.
I'm seeing your auntie.
Are you so happy?
Yeah.
Hey, how are you feeling right now?
Happy and I'm a uncle. Cause a pregnant and I'm happy my teacher long week here.
Is this the best surprise ever?
Yeah.
Man, you know, we so believe that every life is worth celebrating, and so it was so cool that we got to go and celebrate this new life with my little brother James, and so we hope you guys enjoyed that. Hey, at this time, I want to invite you guys to stand up for me. I want you to find some people around you who you may have not seen in a little bit. Give them a high five, give them a handshake, give them a hug. Let them know you're glad to see them at church this morning. All right, if you would make your way back to your seats. Hey, we're having our verse of the month today being read by our very own Felicia Berger. Can we give it up for Felicia today?
Hey everybody, our verse of the month this month is 1 Corinthians 13:8. It says, prophecy and speaking in unknown languages and special knowledge will become useless, but love will last forever. Will you guys read that with me? Prophecy and speaking in unknown languages. Hold on. No. I can't hear you. Wait, what are you? Oh, it just got on the screen. Oh. I'm like, I'm controlling the screen right now. Anyway, all right, let's try that again, guys. Prophecy and speaking in unknown languages and special knowledge will become useless, but love will last forever. Guys, pray with me. Lord, thank you for bringing us together on this rainy, cloudy Sunday morning, God. And thanks for this reminder for the verse of the month this month, God, that your heart is all about love. At the end of the day, what we can learn, everything we do, everything we say, it's all going to fall away. But God, your heart is your love for us. And that's just the whole theme of the Bible, God, is it's a love story from you to us, God. And thank you for that reminder, Lord, because there's so many things that come in the way, that come into our minds, Lord. But at the end of the day, God, your love is what matters. So thank you. Just bless the rest of the service. We love you, Lord. In your name we pray. Amen.
Can we give it up for Felicia one more time? At this time, I want to invite our prayer team to go ahead and come forward and to get into their places. And this is a time as we continue to worship where you can make your requests known to God, where you can present whatever it is that you're going through, whatever struggle that you might be facing, or maybe it's just your thanksgiving and praise to God for how good he has been to you, or for sustaining you through a storm that you're currently going through. Whatever it is, this is your moment to do just that. And this prayer team is down here in the front to help you with that process. You see some prayer requests on the screen from our church family over the course of the last week, and those that are fighting cancer and need healing in their lungs and trust to be restored to their marriage. And those are all big requests, but they're never too big for our God. They're never so big that our God can't handle them. And I'm so thankful for children in our church and for Kid Point workers who invest in our kids, because we've got a praise report this week that there's a 5-year-old son who's eager to learn about God's grace. Can we give it up for that 5-year-old, for all that God is doing in their life? I was reading in Exodus about how Moses was coming down from the mountain with the tablets. God had given him instruction for the Israelites, but the Israelites had turned to other gods. And I wonder, had they known that God's word was on the way, would they have gone a different direction? So as we continue to worship today, I hope that God will find us attentive and listening to his voice and not turning the other way. That we'll have our ears tuned in and our hearts aligned with heaven so that we might hear what God has for us as we worship and as we pray. Would you stand to your feet as we continue in worship? And please come forward and pray if you'd like to.
Let the king of my heart be the mountain where I run, the fountain I drink from, oh, is my song. Let the king of my heart be the shadow where I hide, the ransom for my life, oh, is my song. 'Cause you are good, good, oh, you are good, you're good, oh, you are good, you're good, oh, yes, you are good, so good, oh, let the king of my heart be the wind inside my sails, the anchor in the waves, oh, is my song. Let the king of my heart be the fire inside my veins, the echo of
the king of my heart be the wind inside my sails, the anchor in the waves. Oh, he is my song. Oh, let the king of my heart be the fire inside my veins, the echo of my days. Oh, he is my song, 'cause you are good, you're good. Oh, yes, you are good, you're good. Oh, you are good, so good. Oh, God, you are good, always good. Oh,
You're never gonna let me down. You're never gonna let me down. You're never gonna let me down. You're never gonna let me down.
you're never gonna let me down. No, no, you're never gonna let me down. I know it's true. You're never gonna let me down. I'm confident. You're never gonna let me down. 'Cause you are good, you're good. Oh, yes, you are good, so good. Oh, you are good, so good. Oh, God, you are good, always good. Oh, sing it. You're never gonna let me down. No, no. You're never gonna let me down. Sing it like you believe it. Oh, you're never gonna let me down. Because you are good. You're always good. You're never gonna let me down. So
Can't go back to the beginning. Can't control what tomorrow will bring. But I know here in the middle is the place where you promised to be. Let's sing it out. I'm not enough unless you come. Will you meet me here again? 'Cause all I want is all you are. So will you meet me here again? As I walk now through the valley, let your love rise above every fear, like the sun shaping the shadows. Oh, let my weakness voice, your glory appears. Not enough unless you come. Will you meet me here again? 'Cause all I want is all you are. Will you meet me here again? I'm not enough unless you come. Will you meet me here again? All I want, 'cause all I want is all you are. Will you meet me here again? Not for a minute was I forsaken. The Lord is in this place. The Lord is in this place. Come, Holy Spirit, dry bones awaken. The Lord is in this place. The Lord is in this place. Not for a minute was I forsaken. The Lord is in this place. The Lord is in this place. Come, Holy Spirit, dry bones awaken. The Lord is in this place. The Lord is in this place. I know the Lord is in this place. Just sing that chorus with me one more time. I'm not enough. Sing it out. It's all I want. It's all it's all you are. Come on, let's lift it up and sing it one more time. I'm not enough. God, we thank you for your presence here in this place today. May you be glorified and magnified in all we say and do. We love you, Jesus. And it's in your holy name we pray. Amen. Thanks for singing with us, guys. You may be seated.
Man, awesome worship today, guys. Hasn't it been great being in God's house so far today? And congratulations to Rob and Kyla. Wasn't that an awesome video? I have to admit, I'm not a very emotional person. My wife would tell you that. But man, I just felt something whenever I watched that video, and just so awesome, so awesome. Hey, we're in this series. We're talking about marriage, sex, love, dating, and there was this article in Time magazine that I wanted to share with you. It was all about marriage, and I'll just put it up on the screen. And it was really kind of interesting what Time magazine would say about marriage. Here's what it says. If we could go to the Time magazine piece there, Felicia. It says, there's a reason fairy tales always end in marriage. I should say always, by the way. It's because nobody wants to see what comes after. And isn't that kind of true? You know, you look at like romantic comedies and what happens, it's like they all get to marriage and then the show ends. It's like, you know what, it's too grim. Meeting the right person, working through comic misunderstandings, these are stories worth telling. Even overcoming disapproval from family to get to the altar. But then it goes on and it says, but plodding on year after year with that same old soul, Yawnsville. Yawnsville. And you know, in this series, we are exposing some lies that our culture tells us about sex and about love and about dating and about romance and about marriage. And one of the lies that I want to expose to you today is this belief and this idea that marriage is a drag, that marriage is just Yawnsville. Now, don't get me wrong, marriage is hard. But marriage doesn't have to be a drag. And I want you singles to hear this today. Because some of you singles have grown up with families that have gone through divorce, that have gone through dysfunction, have gone through fights and gone through challenges. And sometimes singles today are even waiting longer and longer and longer because they're like, I don't know if I want to commit to this just yet. And some of you are kind of holding out on this whole marriage thing because you have this belief. And let me ask you, this happened to Shannon and I. Did this happen to some of you that were married? Or maybe some of you right now are you know, dating. And you hear people say things like this, like, hey, listen, man, let me tell you, marriage is really hard. And you know, you're getting ready to get married and they're like, okay, hey, first year is going to be like the hardest of your life. And then the second year, you know, it gets a little better, but I mean, you know, it's tough. You know, these are people that have either gone through some bad experiences or maybe they bought into this lie. Then they're like, you know, then the third year, I mean, man, it's dreaded. And then, you know, fifth year, like it's really, really difficult, the fifth year. You just need to be aware of like the fifth year, how hard it is. Then, of course, there's this 7-year itch. You know, and it's like all of this stuff, and it's like you're going into marriage, and many people believe that it's like Maximus going into the Colosseum. That there's going to be this gladiator combat. And I just want to expose today that, yes, marriage is difficult. Marriage can be tough. But I also want to tell you, man, Shannon and I have been married for 20 years. And marriage can also be amazing. Marriage can be wonderful. You know, Shannon and I, we laugh together. And we cry together. Well, I don't know if I really cry, but I'm real close. And you know, we play together, we make memories together, and we pray together. And you know, it's an amazing experience. I've told Shannon, I've said, Shannon, if you ever leave me, I'll just follow you. You'll turn around, I'll just be right there, right behind you. And I think that marriage is a lot like, you know, the stock market. You know, the stock market has its ups and its downs, right? It's like it goes up and it goes down. And marriage is like that as well. But sometimes whenever it goes really down and the stock market's going down, then people start pulling out. And you know, if you ever talk to like your financial advisor is there. And the only reason why you're paying your financial advisor is for moments like that. That whenever everything's going south, for the financial advisor to give you this advice, to just tell you, stay in there. Stay in there. Because if you stay in and you take a long-term approach, it's going to look really good on the other side. And man, I don't want to pull out. I don't want to pull out whenever it's down, whenever things are going to turn back up. And I think so many people, they kind of just disconnect and they pull out way too early, too soon, and they're missing out on some of the benefits. Now, this same Time magazine article also went on, and it said this. It said, studies do suggest that married people will have better sex, better health and wealth, and will probably die happier than singles with a lower likelihood of strokes, heart disease, and depression. Married people also respond better to stress and heal more quickly. Now, what happened to Yawnsville? And why is this not the lead part of the Time magazine story? How did this get buried? It's like, are you kidding me? This is amazing right here. And where is it found? It's found in God's plan of marriage. God says in Genesis chapter 2, we talked about this the first week, that two become one. And God brings these two together. And Proverbs 18:22 says, the man who finds a wife finds a what? A treasure. It says that you find this treasure and you receive, what's that next word, church? Favor. Favor from the Lord. That this is a beautiful thing. It's a blessing. It's not easy. And we know it's not easy because 50% of marriages end in divorce. And did you know that 67% of second marriages end in divorce? And did you know that 73% of third marriages end in divorce? It's not easy, but it's worth it. And I want to talk to you today about fighting for your marriage. So if you're married today, I want to talk to you about fighting for your marriage. What does it look like to fight for your marriage? If you're single today, I want to talk to you about fighting for your future marriage. And what does this look like to fight for your future marriage? Because odds are high. Almost all of you are going to be married one day. So how do we prepare? How do we do this thing God's way? Now, I want to just let you know that this whole series is based upon this book by Levi Lesko called Swipe Right. This is a fantastic book. So if you're enjoying this series and you want to go a little deeper, we have these books at our Home Point bookstore, along with so many other resources that can help you if you're going through trouble, tension, transition, no matter what it is. We have over 50 different what we call pointers to help point you to going God's way with resources and books, but this is just one of those. And if you're interested in picking it up, man, you can pick it up in our bookstore today right after the service is over. This has just been a fantastic book to help us build this series called Swipe Right. So today we're in Exodus chapter 17 today. Exodus chapter 17 today. And let me just give you some context of what's happening here. Israel has left Egypt. Israel is God's people. They went to Pharaoh. They said, Moses, let my people go. And so they leave Egypt, and they're on their way to the promised land. Now, isn't what that a picture of what we all want whenever it comes to marriage, right? It's like, okay, we leave Egypt. Some of you have had Egypt in a dating relationship. Or maybe even a former spouse was like Egypt. You were in bondage. And it's like, okay, we've left Egypt. Now we want to go to the promised land. How many of you want to go to the promised land? Can I get an amen here? It's like, okay, I want to go to the promised land, but between Egypt and the promised land, you have to understand there will always be a battle. There will be battles between Egypt and the promised land. It says in Exodus 17, while the people of Israel were still at Rephidim, the warriors of Amalek attacked them. That when you are on your way to the promised land in a relationship, there will be attacks. There will be conflict. And I don't worry all the time about people that fight in marriage or conflict. I want you to fight fair. We want to fight the way God tells us to fight. We need to have good ways of fighting the way that God tells us to fight fair. However, there's some people that don't fight at all. And those are the ones I get concerned about. It's like they're just kind of burying everything under the surface. Conflict is inevitable in marriage. There's this book by Tommy Nelson called The Book of Romance. And he tells this story about this husband and this wife, and she's up early, and she got all dressed, and she had this very important business meeting that day, and she's down in the kitchen, and she's making coffee, and all of a sudden her husband, he gets up, he sees her in the kitchen. While she's making coffee, she has her back towards him, and she has her zipper going down her back, and so her husband comes up, and just playfully, he like unzips her dress a little bit, then zips it back up, then unzips her dress and then zips it back up again. And she's like, stop it. She's clearly not in the mood for this. And he just continues on, and he unzips a little further down, then zips it back up. And then the next time he goes to unzip her zipper, she gets so mad and she's so angry, she turns around, she says, stop it. And at that moment, the zipper breaks off of her dress. She ain't happy about that at all. All right, she is extremely angry because this was the dress for the meeting. She just had, the dry cleaner clean the dress. She's like totally angry. Now she's got to put on a whole new dress. Now she's running late. Now she's upset. All of this is going on, okay? And it's like got in her mind like all day long. Like she is just going over this moment like, how dare he? How could he do that? Like all day long. And you know how long he thought about it? Yeah, about that much time. So she goes to her meeting, and guess what? Her meeting actually went great. Everything was fantastic. So she comes home, and he had got home early from work, and right whenever she pulls in the driveway, she sees him, and he's actually working on the car. So he's like underneath the car, and all she sees is 2 legs sticking out and a zipper. So she decides this is her turn to like get him back. So sure enough, she comes over to him, and while he's working on the car, she comes down and unzips a little bit, zips it back up, unzips it a little bit, zips it back up, and she just kind of laughed, and she just unzipped it, just left it there. And then she goes back into the house, and whenever she's in the house, sure enough, she sees her husband inside the kitchen. And she immediately goes pale. And she asks her husband, she's like, what are you doing here, like right now? Like, you're supposed to be under the car. Who's under the car? And he says, I was having some muffler issues, and our next door neighbor said he'd be happy to help me out. So he said, I was just getting him some drinks, and we were coming back out. And so they go back out there. And there's 2 legs like a statue with the zipper still open. And they yell at him, and there's no response. Finally, they wheel him out. And what had happened was what would happen to probably any of us. If the zipper starts going undone, he like completely sets up, knocks himself out right on a muffler. The point is that I don't know if that story is true or not, but that's a good story right there. That's a great story. The point is this: conflict is inevitable. We're all going to go through conflict. There is always going to be challenges, but what God's perfect plan is he says, 2 come together on the wedding day, and they're united. They're united as one. That Jesus is the foundation, and you come together, you leave your father and your mother, and you cleave together, and you become one flesh. And what God so desperately wants is he wants unity. He doesn't want anything to come between you. Those of you that are single, listen, God, he so desperately wants you to have a great marriage in the future, and he doesn't want anything right now to come between you and that future marriage. And those of you that are single, man, that means that there's going to be some things you have to give up. There's going to be some things, some weekends that you may not go out. Why? Because you are protecting your future marriage. Listen, there's some situations that you've got to just kind of zoom out and see this thing for the long term, not the short term. So there may be some spring breaks. There may be some things that you're like, man, I can't get involved because I don't want anything to divide or come between me and my future husband or my future wife. And can I just talk to the singles in the room for a moment? It's better to spend 10 fewer years with the right person than 10 longer years with the wrong person. Maybe some of you made this mistake before. Can the singles just hear an amen on that one right there? It's better to spend 10 fewer years with the right person than 10 longer years with the wrong person. So God says, listen, I want you to come together, to be united, to have unity in your marriage, to come together as one. You know, here at Crosspoint, we have a core value called uncommon unity. And uncommon unity, we phrase it like this. Unity in our marriage, unity in the church, unity in your workplace. That unity, Jesus prayed for it, John 17. Satan tries to destroy it. He's going to try to do everything he can to break up the unity between you and your husband, between you and your wife. He wants to destroy the unity. And the blessing of God, though, always follows unity. Because our mission is so important. And what's our mission? To help people find and follow Jesus. And because our mission is so important, we'll do whatever it takes to honor each other. And that's what a healthy marriage looks like. It's a marriage built on honor. That we will honor one another. We will respect each other. And we will protect our house. That you say, I'm going to protect our house. I'm going to protect our family. And even when we don't see eye to eye. Can I tell you, Shannon and I don't always see eye to eye. I don't even see eye to eye with myself all the time. We don't always see eye to eye, yet we will still walk arm in arm. And this whole uncommon unity value, it all hinges upon Ephesians chapter 4. And Ephesians chapter 4, Ephesians, if you put the Ephesians, it says, always be humble and gentle. To be humble and gentle, not to be arrogant, not to be proud, humble and gentle, be patient with each other, making allowances for each other's faults. You have faults. Your spouse has faults. Your future spouse has faults. I know the person you're dating right now, you don't think they have faults. You think like, hey, you know, you like pizza, I like pizza, like we're made to be together. I mean, we got so much in common. Well, I'm here to tell you, you all have faults. Make allowance for each other's faults because of your love. Love covers a multitude of sins. Then verse 3, make every effort to keep yourselves what, church? United. United is where strength comes in. When there's division, there's weakness. But when you are united together, you bind yourselves together with peace. Where there is unity, there is peace. But Satan's going to try to do everything he can to divide you up. And here's some of the tools he's going to use. He's going to use these right here. The phone. You know what this is? This is a weapon of mass distraction. It is going to keep you distracted from your husband. It's going to keep you distracted from your wife. So it's going to slip right here in between you guys. And it's going to be right there. Have you seen some of those memes? It's like, you know, the husband and wife used to be in bed, you know, together, and they used to be like shoulder to shoulder, you know, getting ready to go to sleep at night. Now, they both have their phones. There's just glows going on, okay, in the bedroom. Why? Because these things can get between your relationship. Satan will use a tool to try to divide you. You know what else Satan will use to divide you? Your work. Your work. And we say, you know what? I just got to work more, and we got to make more money. And we put the money in between us, and it begins to divide us. And we say, well, man, I just want to provide a better life. And, you know, I know I'm working 60 hours, but, you know, I got to work more because I got to provide a better life for my family. And if it's at the expense of breaking up the unity of your family and the time that you're spending together, is it really worth it? You know, you say, well, I got this promotion. We're going to be able to move. Well, if it pulls you out of your church, and if it pulls you out of your relationships, and it pulls your kids, man, out of their friendships and their relationships, man, is it really worth it for more money? I mean, I hope it's a lot more money. Because I hear therapy and rehab is really expensive. And you know what? It divides us. Satan knows this. And then Satan will use these as well. Credit cards, to divide us. To death do us part. It's kind of the new phrase in the vows. It's like we let money get between us, and then all of a sudden, man, we've got our own separate accounts, and we're divvying up whose expenses is what, and we're hiding from each other what different things are, and all of a sudden, you are dividing each other. There's no longer a unity. Then, of course, there's the kids. Got these out of my kids' rooms this morning. They're little kids right here. But these little kids will cause some big division, will they not? And all of a sudden, it's so natural to say, you know what, I love my kids and I want to spend time with my kids. And your kids kind of take your heart. But before you know it, they become the center of the marriage. And they become between the two of you. And they begin to divide both of you. Listen, and whenever it comes to your kids, it's supposed to be Jesus in the center. Then your marriage comes next. Then come your kids. And so often we get that so turned around, and that's what causes division. I remember when I was in premarital counseling, and I was talking to the pastor before Shannon and I got married. I remember one of the things he said, when you come home from work, the very first thing you should do is you should blow past your kids, and you should go kiss your wife first, showing them the priorities in the marriage. And I also believe this, that you know what? The kids shouldn't be in the marriage bed with you either. It's like, man, you know what? I get it. They got a nightmare. My kids have nightmares too, and we comfort them. And then after we comfort them, we say, okay, now go back into your own bedroom now. Because the kids can come in and they can begin to divide the marriage bed that God has said is sacred, is holy, and it's not meant for your kids to be sleeping with you. It says, hey, you know what? There should be some things going on in that marriage bed that would haunt your kids. You should say, hey, listen, I know. Let me cover you. Now, you got to go back to your own bedroom, and you should have a lock on your door, and there should be some Norah Jones playing out of that bedroom right there of saying, you know what we're going to do? We are going to come together. There is a unity factor that is God's plan of two becoming one. And Satan is on a mission to destroy, to divide your marriage. And here's why. Because he knows it doesn't just affect you two, but it's also going to affect your children as well. Because more is caught than taught. More is caught than taught. Your kids are watching what's happened in this relationship. You are modeling. And listen, Satan, he's not just looking right now at your marriage. He's looking at your kids' marriage. And he's looking at your grandkids. And what he doesn't want is he doesn't want your grandkids to be talking about your selfless marriage. And look at grandma and grandpa and how long they have been together. And look at the unity factor and how they've got God in their life. He sees all of that stuff. And he says, I'm going to try to divide it and cut it off right now. He's already planning your kids and grandkids to be depressed. He's already planning their attempted suicide. He's already planning their addictions to be able to cope because they don't have certainty when it comes to your relationship. So here's the deal. Sometimes debt is a part of your family. As much as you'd like to get rid of it, you can't. It may still be in your marriage, but don't put it up here. Go to Financial Peace. It just started. It's on Thursday nights. Come and work together on how you can have financial peace in your life. Do it for your marriage. Do it for your children. And you know what? Yeah, you've got to work. You're not going to get away from work. I mean, that's a part of it. It takes money to be able to survive. But you know what? Let's put that down here on this tier, and let's keep the priorities here. And the kids, yeah, the kids are important. You know what? Kids go here. Maybe these go here. Well, that just keeps falling. Some of you will put it here. I don't know where it goes. And then, of course, we've got this as well, too. And you know what? Social media, relationships, friendships, those are a part of life. But let's make sure we do everything possible so he doesn't fall over. And you come together in unity. How do we fight fair? Exodus chapter 17 tells a story. They're on their way to the promised land. And as they're on the way to the promised land, there's a battle between the Amalekites. And if we go back to Exodus chapter 17 and verse 9, it says, Moses commanded Joshua, choose some men to go out and fight the army of Amalek for us. And then catch this. Tomorrow, I'm going to stand at the top of the hill holding the staff of God in my hand. Hey, would you bring my staff out? Would you bring the staff, the rod of God? It's like he's got this rod, this staff that's in his hands. And what he says he's going to do is he's going to the mountain and he's going to hold it up. And he says as he holds it up, give me just a moment, guys. Give me just a moment. As he holds it up, he says, I'm going to choose some men to go out and fight the army. And I'm going to have the staff of God in my hands holding it up. And it says in verse 10, Joshua did what Moses had commanded, and he fought the army of Amalek. Meanwhile, Moses, Aaron, and Hur climbed to the top of a nearby hill. It says in verse 11, as long as Moses, catch this, verse 11, as long as Moses held up the staff in his hand, verse 11, the Israelites had the advantage. That's not my phone, I promise you, okay? If that was my phone, no, you're all good. As long as Moses held up the staff in his hand, the Israelites had the advantage. But whenever he dropped his hand, the Amalekites gained the advantage. It says in verse 12, Moses' arms soon became so tired, he could no longer hold them up. So Aaron and Hur, they found a stone for him to set on. Then they stood on each side of Moses, holding up his hands. So his hands held steady until sunset. It says in verse 13, as a result, Joshua overwhelmed the army of Amalek in battle. Guys, this is a cool story. There's two people. There's Moses, okay, and there's Joshua. So what Moses did is he prayed. He raised his hands. And what Joshua did was he drew his sword. He had a plan. He went to battle. So Moses is praying, Joshua is planning. Now here's what Joshua did. He kept a cool head. He kept a cool head. He kept his head. I read this story in Levi's book about this cheetah. And he said, did you know that cheetahs can run 75 miles per hour? That's crazy. A cheetah can run until its brain gets to be 105 degrees. And then once its brain gets to 105 degrees, it either has to stop or else what it has to do is die. So it will either stop, let its brain cool down, or else it will die. Now, this is cool because a gazelle, it can run until its brain is 109 degrees. And a gazelle, which the cheetah is always chasing, the gazelle, what it can do is whenever it breathes, air goes into its brain and it cools its brain down. This is a case where a cool head prevails. And this is also true in marriage, that we've got to learn to breathe. We've got to learn to keep a cool head. And we've got to draw our sword. Song of Solomon tells this story. Song of Solomon, chapter 2. It's on the screen. Song of Solomon, chapter 2. It says, catch all the foxes, those little foxes, before they ruin the vineyard of love, for the grapevines are blossoming. That means sometimes you got to kill those little foxes before they start taking it out. That means that you've got to make sure you spend some time working on the small things, having the conversations, not letting those little small things take over your marriage. So here's what I see. What Moses did is he lifted his hands. You know, this is a sign of worship. It's a sign of surrender. And when we worship, when we sing, you'll see people, they raise their hands. And you might say, well, why do we raise our hands? Because you know what this sign is? No matter where you go in the world, it's the international sign of surrender. I surrender. I give up. I'm not going to fight. I'm going to hold back. And I surrender. And when we worship God, that's when we surrender. That's whenever we lift our arms up high. Yeah, we've got a plan. We're attacking. But guess what happens in the middle of worship, in the middle of praying, in the middle of reading our Bible? our arms get heavy and we get tired. I'm going to ask my friends to come back out. Moses had Aaron and he had Hur on each side. And it says, as they began to hold up the rod of God, that the battle, they started winning. But then we got tired. But Aaron and Hur came by. And these guys, they lifted up his hands in support. And when you have support in your life, listen, you can get through any battle that you're facing. My question is, do you have an Aaron? Do you have a Hur in your life? Do you have people that are supporting you? Do you have people that are praying for you when you get tired? Listen, whenever I'm working out at the gym, there's times that the weight gets so heavy, you know what I need? I need a spotter. I'm here to tell you that God is your spotter. Maybe some of you need to go to Marriage Point. You need to get involved in Re-Engage because you need a spotter because it's getting heavy. And I'll leave you with this part. This is a cool story because as Moses held this up, Joshua began to see them win the battle. And they're on the top of the hill, and Joshua would look up, and when he looked up and he saw Moses and Aaron and Hur holding up the rod of God, they would begin to have victory. And you know what this picture reminds me of? It's a foretelling of a future scene as well. Of a scene of Jesus Christ at Golgotha, Calvary. And there was a horizontal crossbar. And there's Jesus in between two criminals. But because of the cross and because of Calvary, there's victory. And just like Joshua, looking up on that hill, and he's seeing Moses and Aaron and Hur, and he knows that victory's happening. What a beautiful silhouette. And I'm here to tell you today that no matter what you're going through today, no matter how hard the battle is, that man, we need to worship and we need to praise. And what you and I can do is we can look up to Calvary and remember the cross. And because of the cross, there is victory. Would you bow your head and close your eyes today? With heads bowed and eyes closed. Maybe you've never put your faith and trust in Jesus today. If that's you today, I want to challenge you to surrender, to wave the white flag and say, God, I'm asking you to take full control of my life. It's only because of Jesus that you can have a new life in Christ. So I want to ask you just to pray this prayer. Just say, Dear God, I'm asking you to forgive me of my sins and take full control of my life today. Today, I'm declaring you the boss, the coach, and the CEO of my life. Maybe you're here today and you're struggling in your marriage. Maybe you're here today and you're single, and there's some things that you're doing right now that could impede and impact your future relationship. Maybe right now is a time of confession. Maybe now is the time to say, God, I want to prepare and I'm going to get my sword out to fight. God, I'm going to raise my hands in worship. God, I'm going to see you as the one to give me victory in my life. God, I love you. I thank you for who you are, what you've done. I thank you for this beautiful image of marriage. God, and I pray that you will speak into each and every one of our lives and that we will fight for our marriages, recognizing that what you put together, you said, let no man, let no person, let no one divide. So God, may we have uncommon unity. In Jesus' name I pray. All God's people said, amen. God bless you, church. Hey, at this time, I'd like to invite our ushers to come forward as we worship God. We're going to worship God with this last song. And this is a time when I'm going to ask you not to check out. I'm going to ask you to stay logged on. Oh, thank you very much, Terry. I've got so many jokes I could say right now. A woman could find a credit card that fast right there, right? Terry found that thing quick, but I'm going to save the rest of my jokes that I got right now. Hey, I'm going to ask our ushers to come forward as we worship God through our giving right now. And I'm going to ask you to take some next steps with God. When you walked in, inside your program, there's a connection card. It looks just like this. And on the back, it says, my next step today is I'm asking Jesus to forgive me of my sin, take full control of my life today for the first time. If you prayed that prayer, if you just check that box, man, I'd love to send you an email tomorrow with a video about what it means to be a follower of Jesus. Number 2, I'd like a copy of the marriage questions. You say, what is this? I have some marriage questions that Shannon and I, we go over about once a quarter. And man, it's just a tune-up. And man, if you'd like to have an awesome date night, just asking some cool questions with each other, man, just check that box. We'll email them out to you this week if you'll put your email address in the front. And then I'll commit to praying with my spouse. Man, I'm going to commit to praying together because couples that pray together stay together. I read this report that couples that go to church and couples that read the Bible and couples that pray together are 35% less likely of getting a divorce. It is true that couples that pray together, that include God in their marriage, are stronger. That's so much what I want for you and what I want for your relationship. Listen, as we prepare to give today, there's 3 ways to give. You can give right now through the offering bucket. You can give online. That's how myself, our leadership, we automate the importance and we automate our giving, or else you can text through the number on the screen. And then finally, if you're a guest with us today, I'll be in the glass room, and man, I'd love to meet you. Just say hi. We've got our Next Steps dessert at my house tonight. If you'd like to attend that, stop by the Next Steps kiosk out front, and they'll give you my address, and I look forward to you coming over tonight, just getting to know you better. If you're a guest, man, you want to pick up a t-shirt, man, we'd love to give that to you just as our gift to you. If you need some prayer, we'll be in the glass room as well. Hey, let's stand to our feet and let's worship God through our giving as well as through our singing.
Just one word, you calm the storm that surrounds me. Just one word, the darkness has to retreat. Just one touch, I feel the presence of heaven. Just one touch, my eyes were open to see. My heart can't help but believe. There's nothing that our God can't do. There's not a mountain that He can move. Oh, praise the name that makes a way. There's nothing that our God can't do. That's right. Just one word, you heal what's broken inside me. Just one word, and you revive every dream. Just one touch, I feel the power of heaven. Oh, yeah. Just one touch, my eyes were open to see. My heart can't help but believe. There's nothing that our God can't do. There's not a mountain that He can move. Oh, praise the name that makes a way. There's nothing that our God can't do. Yeah, there's nothing that our God can't do. There's not a prison wall He can't break through. Oh, praise the name that makes a way. There's nothing that our God can't do. I hope as you go out this week that you remember that there's nothing in your life that God can't accomplish, that He can't do through you. God bless you guys. We'll see you next week. I will believe for greater things. There's no power like the power of Jesus.